Hey, welcome back. High-Octane Truth number 12 is up and running. I've been MIA of late. The whole video thing is, it is what it is. I'm not really enamored with it. So my frequency is going to be intermittent at best with this thing. So in the last few weeks, I've covered a lot of ground. My two columns really entitled The End of Cardolatry Part 1 and End of Cardolatry Part 2 resonated throughout the business. And, it was cause for a lot of discussion. The business is, we're pretty much at a crossroads in the automobile business, and the business as we know it is pretty much over. It's fine to ruminate about, what was and reminisce and all of that, but this country is racing headlong into an abyss of bleak unfamiliarity when it comes to our transportation fleet. And the fundamental rift between the zealots who want us all to be ensconced on our clown cars and, not have to worry about car ownership and all be wonderful and beautiful. They would really like to see the end of the car business of this country. And the counterpoint to the zealots are the realists. And the realists are the people in this business who understand that the automobile industry is part of the industrial fabric of this nation. And you just don't press a button and have everyone give way to autonomous cars and ride sharing overnight. It's just not going to happen. But if you believe the media and all the hype, it's next week. It's not going to happen. So in the meantime, the auto companies are being forced to service the commoditization side of the business by churning out, for all intents and purposes, true appliances for the sharing masses, because it's going to be shoved down everyone's throat. And that, the ugliness in that will be far-reaching. This is the arena that Silicon Valley has jumped in with both feet, and the realists at the global automakers are scrambling to meet this threat head-on, or make deals with these tech protagonists in order to make sure that they're not left behind. I spoke with a prominent industry leader a few weeks ago, and he said that his company is being forced to participate in both arenas, even though his concern and primary focus, as he told me, must remain on designing, engineering, and building automobiles with passion, vehicles that will have genuine, useful appeal to people for years to come. I mean, that's the reality. That's why the realists are, in a quandary here. They have to satisfy the pitchfork wielding zealots on both coasts who want to force the automobile business into a little box that they can control and eventually dismiss altogether. But the rest of the country who has to travel, do work, and exist with the cars as we know them, cars and trucks, these automakers have to deliver. So it's going to be a turbulent time for the next, from now on. The harsh reality for the connected zealots is that it will be a very long time before even a slice of their vision for a utopian driving future makes a dent in our day-to-day society. And even then, it will be largely confined to the most major urban centers. Think about that for a moment, because the hype is far exceeding the reality surrounding the subject. And it must be stated that there is a fundamental sense of individualism in this country and a freedom of mobility that goes with it. And it has helped define who we are as a nation. We, as Americans, love to wander, and on our own terms, too. And it remains a powerful force to this day. The quaint notion that a small segment of zealots would deign to disrupt this sense of wonder, completely ignoring its power as an essential part of the American experience, it's flat out crazy. But then again, the zealots are unable to see the sheer folly of this notion because they're being completely dismissive of the realists, suggesting that any discussions of an essential part of the American experience are merely the lunatic ravings of a hoary segment of society that should be marginalized, if not completely eliminated altogether. And as you can imagine, that train of logic is headed to a place that's nowhere good. The ugly, albeit ignored reality for the zealots is that the sheer vastness of this nation defies categorization, and the wildly diverse needs of the consumer-driving public defy categorization as well. That means that the industrial might of the global automakers and their manufacturing expertise, aka the fundamental ability to make things, will carry more weight than the swells in Silicon Valley will care to admit to. But it is an undeniable reality. The mass production of complicated machines with all of the safety, crashworthiness, connectivity, autonomous features, and countless other engineering parameters that need to be factored in will require genuine manufacturing expertise. And even the most forward thinkers in the Valley are acutely aware of this fact. They're also going to need more than a little design appeal in order to make them palatable too. So the art of the deal is definitely going to cut both ways in this instance. So this is going to be a subject that is going to roil this business from now on. It's going to roil the consumers out there who aren't really going to sign up for it. It's going to be focused into a few urban centers, and everything will be touchy-feely and wonderful, and everybody will get a trophy. But it's not going to satisfy the needs of the country as a whole. So, you know, on the one hand, the end of cardolatry presents a sobering, dismal path marked by zealots hell-bent on altering this country's transportation future once and for all, because it will make everything better if we would all just acquiesce to their wishes, that is. It's a journey into a new heart of darkness as far as I'm concerned, and no one is quite sure where this is all going. And even though their reach will be confined to urban centers, for the most part, as I stated, you can bet that the noise generated by the complicit mainstream media, who are already mindlessly buying into the zealots' notion of utopian transportation nirvana with nary a drop of negativity in sight, will be loud and unrelenting. On the other hand, the end of cardolatry will thankfully put to pasture the idea that even a modicum of mediocrity in any aspect of what an automobile manufacturer does will be acceptable for the mass market going forward. It won't be, thank goodness, and it hasn't been the case for years now, although some manufacturers have been decidedly slow on the uptake. You know, this week I comment about the giant slowdown that's coming. You know, human nature in this business, our car executives, you know, they're all bright men and women. And they're not going to get up there and say to the media that, you know, yeah, we've been selling a lot of cars, but we're a little shaky about what's coming. No, they're not going to do that. Understandable. Why would they do that? Why would they get up and say, we see the slowdown coming? But I really wish they would manage expectations a little better than they do. Well, actually, they don't even bother. They just keep saying, hey, you know, 2015 was great. We see 2016 going to be great too, and well into 2017. But the reality is this business has started to show signs of negativity as early as last fall. And even before that. But last fall, the luxury automakers were experiencing difficulty in making their profit per vehicle, and luxury dealers started to show signs of erosion. That has gotten worse in the last few months. You know, because all the luxury manufacturers are basically churning out vehicles for the same slice of the automotive pie. The competition is brutal. The need for incentives has ratcheted up, and the per unit profit is going down. This is a bad sign for the business. Why? If the luxury automakers start seeing softening, it doesn't bode well for the mainstream manufacturers. That's just the way it is. And to pretend otherwise is silly. The other aspect of the business that's not good is this subprime financing. You know, when we started to see 72-month financing return, that should have been a sign to everyone, even the armchair auto analysts out there, that this isn't going anywhere good, and it isn't. Subprime lending has been increasing for over a year now, and so that's a sure sign that this business is basically at its peak. Now, a couple of weeks ago, you know, Ford and GM released their earnings, and they were great, and all of that, and then Wall Street slammed them. Why? Because Wall Street says this industry is at the peak, and it's downhill from there. And I would say, okay, yeah, that's accurate, except Wall Street hates Detroit. Always have, always will. I don't know why, but they've undervalued manufacturers for years, and it's never going to change. They're just using this as an excuse. Yes, the industry is at a peak, but, you know, the stocks have been undervalued, and, you know, there's nothing Detroit can do. I don't care what Mark Fields or Mary Barra says to the Wall Street swells. They just don't care, and they're always going to undervalue what these companies mean for the country and what this industry does, and that's just the way it is. But we are at the peak, and there are signs that it's not going to go well from here on out. We just simply can't sustain 17 million plus annual unit sales a year. We just can't. A lot of people say, well, business change, and we can. And besides that, you know, if there is a slowdown, it won't be like the other slowdowns. Look, this business goes in 7-year cycles, almost like clockwork. And it's a roller coaster ride because, you know, I don't care what the executives say, oh, we're better equipped to weather this downturn, and it's all, you know, it's no problem. That's just not the way it works. This business is an excruciating roller coaster ride. It's got the highest of highs, and then the lows are just gut-wrenching. And it's always been that way, and it's not going to change. So, you know, in my latest column, I was, you know, imagining the comments that executives have been making the last few weeks. Like, we didn't anticipate the dramatic shift to crossovers and SUVs, so we're overloaded with cars at the moment. Right. We really don't see any problem with the size of the incentives we're offering. We're merely keeping up with the market. Sure. Our incidents of auto loan defaults are within our expectations, so we don't see any problem with it. We have it under control. No, they don't have it under control. Not even close. These defaults are going to increase. People are signed up for this, you know, death march financing, and, you know, they wake up 2 years into a 6-year loan, and they're like, what did I do? It goes badly from there on out. And then, of course, there's always all of our economic indicators and internal research suggests that we're good, and that we'll be good well into 2017. That's not the case, but as I said, you know, they have to put a brave face on it because they don't want a stampede of negativity to come out. But I just want this business to manage expectations better, and they don't. far as I'm concerned, they never will. So, and you know, I point out in my column this week also that the biggest offender in writing subprime loans is Fiat Chrysler. No surprise, really. I mean, they've been so obsessed with, you know, posting these increase in sales, you know, for however many months, but the reality is they're not making enough money. They don't have advanced technology on the way, so they're scrambling, and unless Sergio gets a buyer or a partner, they're going to part out this company within 24 months. I just mark my words. So the business finds itself right where, you know, right where they've always been on this 7-year roller coaster. On the one hand, you know, I can applaud industry executives for sticking to their state of course message about where this industry is headed, because it signifies a reasoned calmness and a belief that they're not going to make the same mistakes as they have in the past. But on the other hand, these executives in this business are making the exact same mistakes that they have in the past. Too many models, too many nameplates, all jostling for the same piece of the pie, with no one pausing and reevaluating. Instead, just heading into the business as usual abyss. And to sustain the faux sales rate in the market, sales rate heat in the market, the manufacturers are spending way too much money on incentives and writing too many subprime loans. Thus, it was ever so. You know, the warning signs, they're all over the place. The profitability of the luxury brands is eroding. Incentive spending is crushing everything in sight, including future resale values, by the way. And subprime lending and the subsequent loan defaults are going up by the month. But the overriding tone you're getting from the manufacturers is, what, us worry? Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just nonsensical and stupid. And this business and the executives tasked with running it should know better. I've seen this movie before. It never ends well. And finally this week, I'd like to, I wrote a very controversial motorsports column last week in Fumes, suggesting that Formula One is such a mess that, you know, you might as well just stop what you're doing and incorporate Formula E into Formula One and try to press the reset button on the sport. You know, it generated, oh, just mass hand rigging. Oh, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Listen, if someone said, Di Lorenzo, what kind of race cars do you really like? Or what, are you kidding me? I want a big block Can-Am motor in a Can-Am car at Road America, because there's nothing like it. There's nothing like the sound. There's nothing like the sense of speed and power with those cars, period, end of story. But Formula One is just a cesspool of doing nothing. So we're going to have to stop this. God damn it.